Hey everyone, this is Martin from How to Make Mobile Games. I hope everyone's having a great week there. Development is going smoothly as usual. This is another personal video message that I wanted to bring to the community and viewers out there because I've done one recently about where I live in China and you guys seem to like that and it's very cool. I've read all the comments, of course, all the messages and a great big thanks for that. The thing that I wanted to talk about was back trouble. Obviously, as a coder and independent developer, and lots of you guys probably know this, is I do a lot of sitting. I sit at my computer roughly, I don't know, maybe 10 hours a day in a chair. And it has caused some problems with me, and I wanted to talk about how I kind of got over that and what happened. So roughly, I started my business Cobalt Play in 2011, so it's been almost 3 years now, early 2011. And in 2012, I noticed that I started to get like a back pain in sort of my lower left spine. And at first I thought I might have hurt myself through some gym training that I was doing, some sit-ups. And I didn't think much of it, but over time my back seemed to get worse and worse, and it was a real problem. I mean, when I was doing the videos that you've seen maybe 1 year ago, or in 2012, at least late 2012, I was in a lot of pain while I was actually doing those videos sat down. And as time went on over 2012 and sort of like late 2011, late 2012 and throughout 2013, my back seemed to get worse and worse, and I was hobbling and I couldn't walk properly, literally for, I guess, 6 months. 6 months I could not walk properly. I was limping, and all the time people were asking me what's wrong, or I thought it would go away. Maybe I've just like pinched a nerve or something. We call this in the UK we say a trapped nerve, and I think in the North America you might say a pinched nerve. But it just got really, really bad towards late 2013 or mid 2013, and it got to the point where I really, like, the only way that I could not be in pain was by lying down flat on my bed. And even then, sometimes it was hard. And it really affected like a lot of my time and my life. Even going to the toilet and taking a pee stood up was difficult, really. Even sitting down on the toilet was painful because I wasn't lying straight. So lying straight was the only time that I had kind of some relief, or I had to take painkillers or something like this. So it was a real major problem that affected every part of my life. I remember I went to a club with my wife and some friends, and it was like agony. The whole night was just really, really hard. We were stood at the bar, and I was sort of like, you know, elbow on the bar propped up, and it was so painful just to stand there. Even though I was drinking beers and getting a little bit drunk, I could still feel the pain, like from kind of like the left hip area, like in the top of the buttock, all the way down the left leg, and all the way down to my ankle as well. And I didn't know what the problem was. So anyway, I did a little research, and I found out that probably the issue was something called sciatica, which is spelled S-C-I-A-T-I-C-A, sciatica. And what it is, at the bottom of the spine here, if you've got the spine, you've got the major sciatic nerve that runs down the leg. So this is the bottom of the spine, and then it runs all the way down the leg. The problem was at the base of the spine. It wasn't a problem at the bottom of my foot or in my calf or my leg. The problem was like the disc at the bottom of my spine, because I went for a scan to see what the problem was. And this was causing the pain all the way down my leg, including like the numbness in my foot. My foot felt kind of numb. And I'm trying to think the point that I was about to tell you guys. So anyway, the problem was sciatica, and this was like a major thing. And after a little more research, I found out that it was partly due to my position whilst I was doing work, and the fact that I sit down like 12 hours every single day to do my work, that's what was causing it. I wasn't sitting at a 90-degree angle like this in a hard chair. I was sat in a soft sofa chair, like you might have seen in my old apartment when I was doing the videos. I was always in this black chair, sort of like in a sofa, or I was in my leather chair in my living room, which was again a soft chair, which had me like sort of my back was in like a slouching position at maybe 60 degrees or something like this, and it caused a major problem. I came to Guangdong, where I am now, and I moved down here. And what happened was, after a couple of days of being here and sleeping on a hard bed, sitting on a hard chair at 90 degrees, like I am right now, the problem started to go away a little bit. I could start to like sit down comfortably and eat. I didn't have to lie down all the time, and I stopped doing work in my bed. You might have seen a few videos possibly where I'm lying on my bed and my head is up on a pillow and my knees are up in the air to put my laptop on. And that was a big problem as well, because I was, again, putting my back at this weird angle. But it was slowly getting better, and then one night what happened, I was lying in my bed, I had the back trouble, which was getting a little better, but then I sneezed, and I had a bad sneeze, like a really big one, and I twisted my back. You know, as you sneeze, you kind of like crunch down into that position, and I have never been in so much pain in my entire life. I was in absolute agony for like 5-10 minutes. Like, I mean, I was in pain for a lot of, like, for days after this, but the first 5-10 minutes were like the most pain I've ever felt in my entire life. And it was also very worrying as well, because it's my back, you know, it's not like, you know, I hurt my finger or something. This is like, you know, your spine. And I was really in a bad situation. For 3 days I was in bed and I could not move. It was real trouble. Literally, I had to, like, you know, sorry to gross you guys out, but I had to like sort of pee into a bucket in the bed because I could not move. I had to like turn on my side to sleep, and that was painful. And I tried to move back, and that was painful. I was up all night in pain, and it was a huge problem. And sciatica is a big problem for a lot of people, especially who work in an office, sat down all day, not doing enough exercise. So roughly, I think around a week later, I went to a hospital near here, and they did a scan of my spine, and I could see the problem, and the problem was the disc, and something to do with the fluid, or I couldn't understand exactly, but they said you'll need surgery, and that like sort of made me really panic. Like, no offense to China, but I much prefer the UK hospitals if I have to get surgery. So the idea of surgery in China was a really scary thing for me. But they said, hey, it could get better over time, and take all these pills. So I was limping around and taking these pills, and it got better. Eventually, you know, sort of like a month or two later, this is kind of like in September, October time, it eventually got better, and I started to like walk straight and play badminton. I could, if you do tiptoes, you stand on your tiptoes. I could do tiptoes on one foot, but I couldn't do it on the left foot. But now I can do tiptoes on my left foot, which is great. Also, I can walk around without being in pain, and it really had such a big impact on my life, my happiness, and overall just really, really made things tough, really tough, like throughout 2013, at least in the mid, sort of like from the start until roughly August time. And recently I had a little bit of back pain as well in the same place at the bottom of my spine. And what I did is I realized this was roughly just 3 or 4 days ago, is I realized that I started to sit down a lot because I hadn't been kind of away from home. I hadn't traveled to this town near here, and I hadn't walked around, and I hadn't done any badminton because my wife was sort of away, and we usually play badminton together. So I hadn't done any exercise, and I noticed the pain was coming back. And so I wanted to do this video to kind of remind myself is, 1, don't work in bed. Don't like lie down or put the laptop on your legs. 2, to remind myself is stand up and work sometimes. And I've been doing this more recently. I've got a low table right now, and it's not very good for standing and working, but I've put my laptops on a set of magazines, so it's higher. But I plan to buy sort of like a bar table that's kind of like, maybe, I don't know, sort of like mid-chest level, so I can stand up comfortably and work. And that's no problem, I don't have to sit down to work, of course. So that was the other thing to remind myself as well. So it's because it happened recently, and I don't think there was anything else from that apart from just like keep on doing some exercise and keep walking around as well, and just make sure that I don't sit down too often and sit in a hard 90-degree chair. Don't sit in a sofa slouched down, you know, because we also put on a lot of weight that way as well. Now, luckily, I burn energy very fast. I'm not very big. I'm not fat. I'm lucky like that. So, but I know for some developers, they don't quite burn fuel as much. I've forgotten what the word is now. So whatever. But obviously, you can put on a lot of weight that way. So, you know, stand up more often and do work because you use more energy, I believe, when you stand up. But I wanted to give this message anyway, is just be careful, guys. If you do have like sciatica, take a look at that if you're having back pain, especially if the pain comes like from like the left buttock side or towards the spine and then down the leg. The pain could also be in your ankle or your calf, which is where I had a lot of pain, but that was not where the pain comes from. It comes from the bottom of the spine and that sciatic nerve that runs all the way down your leg. And that was the problem. Like the spine, this disc at the bottom is either rubbing the nerve or it's trapping the nerve or something like this. And it's a major problem from what I've done on from some research. And it took me a couple of weeks through sitting properly, standing up more, lying in a hard bed and so on for it to actually get okay. So, you know, I'm wondering if anybody else, because we're coders, we're developers, we sit down a lot at a computer. Have you guys had the same thing? Have you had any problems like this? Because I'm really curious as well, whether it was just me or I know it's not just me, but anyone else of the viewers out there who might have had this same problem. And my message is, you know, those things that I just said. You know, please be careful, guys. Don't sit down too much. Do exercise. Stand up more often. If you do feel pain, you know, go and see the doctor, or you know, do some research and maybe take up some of the tips that worked for me as well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully, this video was useful and interesting for those of you out there. Take care. I'm going to bring another video soon, and happy developing, everyone. Bye bye.